Today, we're here at Adnams Brewery, and I'm going to show you how to make beer. Let's go. So we're just here in the malt store waiting for head brewer Dan to turn up. I am super excited to find out more about how these bags of barley transition into the lovely ales that I've enjoyed over my whole life. Ghost Ship, Southwold Bitter, Broadside if I'm feeling adventurous. There's a journey that goes from these sacks of barley to the bottle and to the glass that I can't wait to find out. So we're here with Adnams head brewer Dan, in a bit of a special area that most people don't get to see when they come on a tour to Adnams. Where are we, Dan, and why is it so special?
Well, yeah, thanks. It's a pleasure to give you a tour. We're in the speciality malt room, so we have lots of bagged malt here. And when we're brewing, malt is really one of our key ingredients. And as brewers and head brewers, you know, sourcing our ingredients is really important. And the ingredients that we have here in the room really give us our sort of base notes when we're talking about beer. And lots of brewers talk about these different notes and tunes that we're playing to balance a beer. And the malt is where we really give a sort of base to add hops. And the special malts that we have here all add flavour and colour. So I've got crystal medium. I don't know if you want to...
Okay.
This is what we call like a caramel malt. So in the kiln at the malt store, they stew it. But essentially, you get these kind of caramelised, sweet, lovely sort of melanoidin type flavours, and it adds a lovely depth of colour to the beer. So,
are we all right to have a munch?
Absolutely.
Cool.
So this will be from Simpsons, and we have a really close relationship with Simpsons, and you know, we sort of advocate it and, you know, talk about it quite a lot. But if we didn't use them as a malt store, it would be foolish. They're about 45-minute drive from here, and all the sort of barley's grown in East Anglia. They have a growers group, so I think they might have about 50 growers now within their group, all growing for them directly, and we really like that traceability. They're doing some great work on like sustainability, and they also produce some of the best malts in the world, so we're really chuffed to have that on our doorstep.
Sounds like a winning combination.
Yeah.
And our whiskey fans that watch this channel will be aware of the importance of barley to the distilling process.
Sure.
Maybe they're not so aware of what happens in the brewing process. So as we go through the tour today, could you show us where there are some similarities and where beer just diverges and goes its own way?
No, absolutely. And Simpsons have a long relationship with supplying the distilling industry with the white malt, as we call it. So, yeah.
So, barley everywhere, but not a drop to drink. So how do we take the barley and turn it into beer? Where next on this tour?
Well, we'll go to the brew house, and we can talk about the process and how we start the brewing process once we've got our malted barley here.
Lovely. Lead on. I'll follow.
Brilliant.
So Dan, we are in a room that is storing a part of the brewing process which definitely doesn't feature in distilling.
No.
Hops. Tell me more.
The world of hops. Humulus lupulus. We have hops come from all over the world, grown in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, the US, and they all bring different flavours to our beers. So I think I've got about 100 different hop types
oh wow,
you know, that we've had over the years, and yeah, we add them in the brewing process on the hot side for bitterness, and later on for aroma. And yeah, the last 10 years, the sort of catalogue of hops that we can use as brewers has just grown.
It's gone up, has it?
Yeah, yeah.
That's brilliant.
So
I always see at beer festivals there's experimental hop types, and people get very excited about them.
Yeah.
I just wish that kind of thing happened in the cider world as well. But it seems like the beer crowd, they love a new hop, don't they? They love a brand new one to market.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, our main flagship beer now is Ghost Ship, and we use a hop from the Pacific West called Citra, and that was first bred in the mid-90s, but it wasn't until 2006 that it was actually released as a actual commercial variety, because actually brewers weren't that interested in it. So it has really changed in the last kind of 20 years, and now it's, you know, so many beers have it in, and it's an amazing hop, and you can see why, you know.
So here we are downstairs in the brew house. We've got a few items of machinery that might be familiar to those of you that have done a distillery tour. So Dan, it's the malt mill.
It is, and what you can hear, well, it's a little bit loud, is it's the malt coming over for a brew. And
Okay.
so we've got the malt hopper up there, and the rollers for the mill just here. And to be honest, when we're creating a wash for whiskey, the milling process is very similar. So what we're interested in is a good grind. We actually have a wet conditioned mill, so this part of the mill actually steeps the grain before it goes through the roller.
Yes, of course.
So we predominantly use barley in brewing, and there's a reason for that. On the outside of the barley, there's what we call the husk. When you have wheat does have a husk in the field, but as it's harvested, it gets skinned. The husk is really important because later on in the process, that's what's going to filter our sugary liquid, which we call wort, from the spent grain. So it goes through the mill. That wet conditioning just softens the husk, keeps it more pliable, and it keeps it in contact more. Goes into our mash tun, and then this is probably where the main differences are.
Yeah, well, distillery fans will be familiar with the mash tun, maybe not quite on this size. How fast or slow is the brewing process compared to the distilling process, and why would that be different?
In terms of time, it can vary depending on the brewing, but generally for the distillery washes, what we're after is fermentable sugar. So in brewing, we add hops later on in the process, and we need a bit of residual carbohydrate to give body and a bit of mouthfeel and to balance that hop bitterness. In distilling, obviously we're not using hops, so we're not interested in any residual carbohydrate. That's all potential alcohol yield in the final process. So what we do in the mash tun is we target the temperature where we use malted barley. So it's an endogenous enzyme system. So the whole malting process develops enzymes in the malt naturally, and that's what we're utilizing in the mash tun. So we target a temperature typically of 63 degrees for a distillery wash. Okay. That makes there's an enzyme which was responsible for the fermentability mainly, and that's the temperature that enzyme really likes. So we mash in at 63, and we've kind of let it rest for about an hour and a half, until all of that starch has been converted into fermentable sugar. The starch itself is not very useful for yeast, so hence why we need to mash.
And I know size and everything, but what kind of size is this mash tun? It seems a bit bigger than we're used to in
yeah, it's quite a big one. It's we can sort of go up to about 7 tons of malt.
Wow. And
about 250 hectolitres of liquor. Us brewers always refer to it as liquor. I don't know in the distilling. Yeah, water. Yeah.
Okay. All right. On to the next part of the brewing tour. Okay, Dan, so we've come up to what feels like the Swedish sauna part of the brewing process. At this stage, by the lauter tun, we're still in a kind of similar trajectory as to distilling. What goes on in here?
So it's essentially a wort separation stage. So wort being our nice sugary liquid, and it takes about 3 hours to run into our next vessel, which is kind of like an underback in distilling, and the grains are left behind. So similar to a mash tun, except for a lauter tun has a wider diameter. We have rakes, which helps the permeability for the separation, and the grains then get discharged for cattle feed in.
And at this stage, are the husks still in here?
The husks, yeah, that's exactly it. Well remembered. We've got the husks sitting on a false bottom, and they're acting like they're the actual filter bed itself. So it is a filtration process. And for brewing, it's really important to have a really nice, clean, filtered wort because it can give you issues downstream. In a wash, it's probably not as important, but there is a sort of balance for potential sugar and your final alcohol yield. So even when we're doing our distillery washes through here, we try to run a really efficient lautering process.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next stage. Still up here, but along this gangway a little bit. Where are we going to go to next?
To the next part of the sauna, which is our wort kettle, and this is where we add the hops.
To the wort kettle.
Yeah.
Dan, we have the liquid in the loud sun down there. It gets pumped into this vessel here and then pumped into the kettle. What goes on in the kettle?
So the wort kettle is a really important process in brewing. This is where we're sterilising the wort. We are adding hop bitterness and also hop aroma, and the pH is controlled. We're coagulating proteins to create a nice clear beer at the end, although hazy IPAs and things like
Very
that
fashionable.
are fashionable these days. So really important part of the brewing, and we add hops in various stages at the beginning and at the end. Hops at the start, we're sort of mostly looking at bitterness. Any of those lovely oils from the hops will get flashed off. So we add hops as late in the process for the kettle as possible to maintain those volatile oils, which depending on the hop variety, we can get a whole veritable smorgasbord of hop flavours and aromas.
Are there some hops and some liquid in here at the moment then?
Yeah, we're boiling Ghost Ship today. Yeah,
oh, right.
So yeah, we're sort of near the end of the kettle, so you can probably start smelling a bit of that kind of elderflower and those kind of citrusy flavours. Yeah.
Lovely. Cool. Thank you very much. So from the kettle, where does the liquid go next?
Aha! Under the road into our fermentation room. So
Do we need to go under the road ourselves?
no, we don't have to climb through the tunnel. We can, yeah, but it's the cool swim now. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, lead on. I'll follow. So Dan, I can breathe a sigh of relief. My woolly jumper's come into play finally. We're in a much cooler space, the fermentation room. So in distilleries, we've got washbacks where fermentation gradually happens. This is on a whole different scale for a brewing. Can you tell me what kind of capacity we're looking at, why stainless steel, and what's going on around us?
Well, we use stainless steel firstly from a hygiene perspective. It's an amazing material. It's a polished surface. We've got 19 fermenting vessels, and they were manufactured by Briggs. And this FE room went in sort of fermentation room, went in sort of 3 phases, finally finished in sort of 2005. And these kind of square fermenters, we love the flavour that they give our beer, but also our whiskey. We have a really old yeast strain, which sort of dates back to the 1920s when we first started using it. Okay. Originates from a brewery in Norwich called Morgan's, but the actual yeast strain is supposedly a Whitbread B strain. And over the years, the yeast has evolved to the brewery, and in the 1970s there was some major genomic work. But essentially, we've got a very old yeast strain, and it has a lot of ester production. And I think that's what's quite special about not just only our beers, but also our whiskies, is that our sort of DNA is our long-living sort of yeast culture that we manage, and I think that really comes through in the spirits, and we use that for making our distillery washes. Yeah.
So you've kept that alive like someone would keep a sourdough yeast starter like a culture in their fridge at home?
Absolutely, and in those early stages it would have definitely evolved and other yeasts would have been in there, but now we have it in a yeast bank. So it's been in the yeast bank for a long time, so stored under liquid nitrogen so it doesn't mutate, because we want to keep the sort of identity of this yeast.
And those estery notes you mentioned, so I understand understand that to be like fruity floral top notes. Is that what we would expect to see across all of the Adnams beers?
Yeah, I think we can control the flavour a little bit with temperature. So things like the Ghost Ship, actually we want the hop character to come out a bit more. So we'll ferment at much lower temperatures than we would, say, a broadside, where we want that ester profile. Interestingly, we do have, we kind of call it POF positive in the brewing industry, but essentially our yeast is capable of making some phenolic notes. So I think that's always there in the background. Our skill as a brewer, depending on the beer style, is to try and soften it or elevate it, depending if we're making Weiss beers or Blanche beers and Belgian style Vits, you know, which we do very well.
How long does the fermenting liquid sit in these vessels then?
About 7 days. So
Okay.
I mean, historically we were a cask ale brewery, and you know, the fermentation room was built around large volume of cask, and so these finished in 2005, and then where we were in the brew house was kind of done in 2007, 2008, and it's built around 7 days. And we'll have a look at the racking room where we put the beer into cask, but the secondary fermentation, so the carbonating of the beer, actually happens in the cask itself, and that's what's really special about cask beer. So we have a relatively short time here because the beer really goes out in the cask sort of half done, and it's really, the job's really finished in the cask itself.
It's alive.
It's definitely alive. Yeah.
And so 19 of these, what does that equal in terms of literage?
So we've got, they're 300, most of them are 300 barrels. We've got a couple of smaller ones which are sort of 170 barrels, and then a smaller one at 90 barrels. So
And a barrel is how many litres?
163 litres approximately.
300 times 160 litres.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so
A lot of beer.
a lot of beer, yes, yeah.
So where are we going to go from the fermentation house then?
So from here, where we've had about 7 days, we tend to take the yeast off, harvest the yeast, and we use it for subsequent brewing, which is a bit different for distilling, right? You know, you don't have as much harvesting of the yeast.
No, as I understand it, they use a fresh batch every time. I could be wrong.
Yeah. So we do the same with our distillery wash. We don't recover the yeast. So fermentation time actually is about 3-4 days for the wash. So really quick. We really ramp the temperature up. So for our beers, we'll need to process that. So we'll go and have a look at the cask racking and some of the filtration.
So where are we going next down then?
Well, we might as well look at cask racking and see how the beer gets put into the cask, and then tasting, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, the smell in here is gorgeous. I can smell like Amalfi lemons or something. Is that the hops for Ghost Ship?
Yeah, so we do something called dry hopping in the fermentation room. So lots of those sort of volatile oils do fill the room, and it does make you thirst.
It's lovely, yeah. One stage closer to the final product.
Yeah.
Come down from the fermentation room into the racking room. We're surrounded by the cling and clang and clong of barrels being tapped and valves being pulled. What goes on in the racking room?
So from the name, we put the beer into cask. So it gets pumped under the road all the way over to here, and it gets filled on the cask racker at the end there. So we have a 6-head filler, and the casks get purged, and then the beer goes in. We add some isinglass, and then lovely old job.
How long do you leave it in there for?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. This place feels alive. It
Yeah.
feels like a big old beast that is slumbering in the centre of Southwold.
It's the drum of the brewery.
Yeah, definitely. And what have we got behind us here then? This bit of kit looks interesting.
So this is the RO. So we've got the housing units for the membrane. So 9. We've got 3 in each of the housings, so a total of 18 membranes, and yeah.
And boozy liquid goes in.
Yeah.
Alcohol goes out. 0% or 0.5% beer comes out the other end.
Yeah. So it kind of. I don't know if you're in a hard water area, but some people.
Yeah, I think I am. Yeah.
Some people have reverse osmosis for under under their sink for their water, and for dealcoholization of beer, it's the same process, but the permeate, the stuff that comes through the membrane, which you drink from your tap in your sink, actually that's ethanol and water, so that's our waste in this instance, and the beer is retained on the inside of the membranes, and that's our product. So,
Oh,
yeah.
So this is where Ghost Ship Alcohol Free continues its journey from Adnams out into the wider world.
Exactly.
And outside, I can see casks being moved, casks being filled. How many casks a day are you filling here at Adnams?
About 1,000 casks, yeah. Yeah, certainly it's changed over the years. I think we've grown Ghost Ship 0.5, and that's largely in bottles. So we've got kegging now, so the kind of split of package types has changed. But yeah, we still very much love our cask beer, and you can hear the drum of casks and the washer going.
It's lovely. It's actually quite reassuring. I don't know,
Yeah.
there's something nice about it, and just seeing all of the happy Adnams workers tapping away and lifting. You don't need to join a gym if you work, and you're doing this kind of work. You get all your cardio every single day. Okay, so from the racking room, where should we go to next?
Probably time to taste the final product. Yeah.
Okay, lead on.
Yeah.
Go. So Dan, we're at the end of a brilliant tour here in the tasting room. Thank you very much for showing us around. It's been really, really interesting. All the sights, the sounds and the smells. My olfactory senses have just been bombarded by these lovely different hop aromas and the malt at the start. So thank you very much for that. Cheers.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
This is the thing to do when in a tasting room.
Yes. I mean, quality starts with Q. Quality control is so important. We're in here every day, every morning at 10:30. Tasting, freshly packaged beer, shelf life tasting, beers in process, and we tend to have like 8 different beers, and then we finish on a bottle broadside. But that's not what we've got here.
What have we got in our glasses?
You've got Double Ghost Ship, which we launched last October, and I've got the regular Ghost Ship at 4.5.
So that kind of,
cheers.
Well, cheers. Thank you very much. I'll take another sip. That's delicious. I'm getting those citra notes, definitely. They're coming through. So when I think of Adnams, it is that tradition, but it's that innovation at the same time. And I think we kind of see this all around us here in this bar. One of my favourite beers of Adnams is Ghost Ship. But it's kind of unique, isn't it? Because it's not just your standard 4.5% Ghost Ship. There's a really, really tasty alcohol-free version as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. We started brewing that back in sort of 2018, and when I first started, Jonathan Adnams and the board were really keen to explore no and low. And in sort of 2013, there was a change for cask and draft beer, 2.8% and under. There was like a duty reduction, and we had a beer in that space called Soulstar, but it didn't really kick off. And over the years, we brought the Soulstar down in ABV to sort of 0.5%. And we've played a lot with restrictive fermentation. So there's basically 3 different ways to make low alcohol beer. You have what's called lazy yeasts, where you don't ferment above 0.5%.
They're just not interested. They're like, I'm giving up now. I'm not going to eat any more sugar.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we call that restrictive fermentation. And then there's actual separation of the alcohol after the fermentation. So you can do that through heat, so thermal separation, which incorporates a vacuum distillation setup. And then the way that we do it is through membrane separation, which is reverse osmosis. And there's a lot of leading brewers in the world who like that technology because And same for us is that it's so gentle on the process. And Ghost Ship being such a hoppy beer, there's some real delicate hop aromas, and they would be destroyed through sort of thermal separation. So when we looked at the kit back in probably 2015, 2016 originally, we went to Germany, and Gia, who supplied the Aroma Plus unit, the reverse osmosis unit, they'd had one installed at this amazing brewery in Bavaria, and we tasted these beers and we were just blown away.
It just worked.
And Germany has quite a sort of mature market really for low alcohol beer, and we saw that a lot of German brewers have their sort of main brands de-alkalized. So at that point we were sort of quids in. We were. It was still a bit of a risk at the time. We weren't sure where the no and low market was going to go, but it's been such a success story, and the technology is amazing. It really does produce some really, really good beer.
It's one of the few low alcohol beers on the market that tastes like the regular version, and you can have it on a dry day, you can have it on a driving day, and it's fine, but it's still enjoyable to drink, which I think is so fundamental to parting with your money and actually buying edible and drinkable products. So you've got the low alcohol version, but there's a new Ghost Ship, double Ghost Ship. Now I saw this around Christmas time up in Hunstanton, and tell us a bit about double Ghost Ship. What's the story there?
So it's slightly higher in ABV to the 4.5%, the original Ghost Ship. So we've gone at 5.2. So where the double comes in is that we actually do a double dry hop. So we dry hop in two parts. So where we were in the fermentation room, we add hops for additional flavour, and it shouldn't be called dry hopping in all honesty. It should be called cold hopping.
Cold hopping.
Yeah, let's change the name. But essentially anything sort of in the fermentation and onwards we refer to as sort of dry hopping. So that's the fundamental difference, is that we're dry hopping in two different places, and that just adds a different layer from the hops. So the hop oils have different volatilities, and by adding them at different stages, we're trying to put some of those later dry hop additions, we're trying to preserve some of those oils that might ultimately get flashed off in the fermentation room.
So that's double Ghost Ship there. So that's the kind of, we're talking about the innovation part, the tradition part. I always think my late uncle lived in Botswana for ages, and he came back to the UK, and this is honestly true. He said one of the best bits about coming back to East Anglia and living here was he got to have a pint of Southhold Bitter, and for him it was so important.
Yeah.
And he's not around anymore, but it's great to still see Southhold Bitter doing well. Broadside still sailing ahead with this kind of new rejacketed branding as well. It looks really nice.
Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. I think, Southhold Bitter is one of my favourite drinks, and I kind of remember my first pint of Adnams Bitter. It was in Aldborough, and it just changed my sort of view on beer. And it's one of those styles that might not be as fashionable. We certainly saw with the advent of Ghost Ship, bitter sort of decline, but it's still a really big part of our brewery. And as head brewers, we're kind of custodians, and I really like, we're kind of stewards for these kind of beers, including Ghost Ship. And it doesn't take very long before the customer actually own your brand. So all we do as brewers are really protecting what customers want, and I really like that. And the Southhold Bitter will live on, as will Ghost Ship. And talking about innovation, bitter was first created in the 1950s for the brewery. The brewery's been running since as Adnams, and it was a brewery before that in 1872. And there's beers come and go, and I think as brewers we do have to innovate. And Ghost Ship at some point in 50 years' time, there'll be something else. So we have to respect the past, but also look forward to the future. Yeah.
Very well put. And Dan, as well, what are you looking forward to about beer in general in the sector? What's on the horizon?
Well, I'm going to use this I'm going to spin it back to you. As a customer, what are you excited about?
I mean, I love flavour and different flavour profiles. So I think I mentioned on the tour, any new hop that arrives on the scene and the flavour that can impart, whether it's, I don't know, if a hop does watermelon or a hop does raspberry or something like that, fruity notes, or I'm occasionally bitter. If there's a new style of bitter flavour on the palate, and that comes from a new hop, I'd be super interested to see that in a beer. And I just hope that cask ale continues as it has done for the last couple of 100 years. As you say, it's an amazing live product.
Yeah, I think on the hop rise, I think there's some really exciting stuff coming out of some of the UK breeding programs. So that I'm really excited about that. There's been a lot of work that's been that's been happening to try and fast track some varieties. So that's where I'm particularly focused on at the moment and what I'm excited about. And UK hops do express so well in cask beer as well. It's
Beautiful combination.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Dan. So it sounds like there's a lot to look forward to here at Adnams in the years ahead. Thank you so much for showing not just me but all of our viewers around Adnams Brewery today. It's been a fantastic journey to find out how beer is made here in Southwold. Long may it continue.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Cheers. We've come to the end of our tour here at Adnams Brewery. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Whether you're a beer enthusiast or just beer curious, there's been something to learn for everyone. So from us all here at the Whisky Baron, we'll see you next time.